Good afternoon, sociology students. Welcome back. I hope you had a great spring break and were able to do some of the things that you wanted to do, even with everything that is going on. We are now officially into the second half of our term, and during this second half, we'll be talking a lot about the different institutions of society as well as stratifications, which are layers of society. And we'll begin with chapter 9, which is deviance. Get it to move. Deviance is the recognized violation of cultural norms. You guys did a great job with your discussion this week in recognizing anything outside of what society deems as normal, being deviant. A lot of times we think about crime, and that's the biggest thing. The most commonly thing that we think of is crime. But once again, deviance is anything that society does not view as normal. And depending on where you fit in society, some things may be normal and some things may not be. A lot of you talked about having tattoos as something that may be viewed as being deviant. And you're absolutely correct in that regard, because it is a violation of cultural norms in some places for whatever reason. One category of deviance is crime, which is the violation of society's formally enacted criminal laws. Like I said, once again, this is what we most commonly think of as crime. Not all deviance involves action or choice. Existence plays a part as well. For example, just being a black man in society could be labeled as deviant. Depending on where you are in society, once again, this can be a violation of your cultural norms. If you see a black man, for example, walking down the street in an affluent neighborhood that is predominantly white and or Asian or other ethnicities, and you see this black man there, that is outside of the cultural norm in that community. That's why I have here the scary black man syndrome. Unfortunately, just being who you are sometimes can be deviant. Being Arabic, especially around 9/11, after all of those events, even now a little bit, can be considered to be a violation of cultural norms. How society defines deviance has a lot to do with how society is organized, and the roots do indeed run deep. Okay, I'm gonna go through some of these things. I'm gonna make sure you read it, but we're gonna skip past some of this stuff, okay? I want to talk with you about Durkheim's basic thought. Emile Durkheim, we've seen him before, remember, that he is a structural functionalist, and they believe in ideas being a part of everyday life and being necessary. And Emile Durkheim believed that deviant not only was needed, but that it helped shape society. Durkheim stated that there was nothing abnormal about deviance. In fact, it was functional. How was it functional? There were 4 reasons. The first is that deviance affirms cultural norms and values. In other words, there can be no good without evil. How would we know something is truly evil if we don't know what good things are? Number 2, responding to deviance clarifies moral boundaries. In other words, it helps to draw the line between right and wrong in society. It guides your behavior, if you will. Remember, we talked about anomie way back in chapter 4, but it does guide the behavior of members of society. It clarifies moral boundaries. Number 3, deviance is functional because when you respond to deviance, it tends to bring people together. The example I have down here is Sandy Hook, which was the situation with the young children being killed at the school by a gunman. During that time, all of America, at least for a brief moment, all of us collectively were on the same page as it relates to gun laws. You know, gun laws have been a huge source of contention between certain groups of people within America. Some people believe we have way too many rights. for guns, and some of us believe that, these are my guns, you can't tell me what to do with them. But when this happened, it brought us all together because, like I said, for at least a moment, a brief moment, everybody collectively, for the most part in America, was saying, hey, you know what, we need to do something about gun control. Also, deviance encourages social change. Whenever you see things happening that are outside of cultural norms, sometimes this is a catalyst for social change. Think about Martin Luther King. You can think about Gandhi. A lot of people, or a lot of influential figures in our history, had to go through something that was outside of the cultural norms and boundaries, but it did elicit social change. Okay, now Merton's string theory, he argued that while there was some functionality to deviance, society could also encourage too much deviance, specifically where the society provides the means to achieve the goals. So, for example, society plays a big part in why people are deviant, because if there's not enough means for people to achieve what they want, for example, if there are not enough jobs, if there's not enough access to education for people to achieve financial success, literacy, that in itself creates deviance. For example, innovation is using unconventional means to achieve a culturally approved goal. What that could speak to is your local drug dealer. Unconventional means to achieve that goal. Trying to be financially successful, they're using deviant means to get it. Then there's ritualism, not caring about achieving means, but respecting the goals. That would be most of us today. We respect the goals and we're just going about our life achieving the means. Then there is retreatism, which is rejecting both the means and the goals by completely giving up. An example down here I have are alcoholics, street people you tend to think of what you hear society call as hobos. It would seem that these people have just completely given up on life and have completely given up on being successful. And then we have rebellion, which is rejecting both the means and the goals. It forms a whole new culture with different norms. And we've heard about different entities creating whole new societies, not going by anything that is society deems to be normal, or having a lot of deviant activity. For example, when you think about, and I'm sorry, I'm gathering my thoughts today. When you think about the Mennonites, those people in society, or even Indians living on reservations, this would be an example of rebellion. They're rejecting both the means and the goals of society, and they're doing what they want to do with completely different norms as it relates to their community that they live in. Okay, so let's go to Angry Girl. See what she's talking about. If you are a social conflict theorist as it relates to deviance, you believe that what is labeled deviant depends on who is in control. This is explained in 3 ways. The laws of society generally reflect the interests of the rich and powerful. Even if the behavior is called into question, the powerful have resources to resist deviant labels. For example, not too long ago, the actress from Full House, I think her name, and Felicity Huffman was one we call Auntie Becky. If you've ever watched Full House, they were accused of paying money for their children to go to college. Now, that's illegal everywhere. But because they are powerful and they have resources to resist those deviant labels, the behavior was kind of swept under the rug. Now, say your parent or my parent decided they want to send you to another district or pay for you to go to a certain college, we would certainly be arrested. That behavior would be called into question, and there would be some repercussions behind that, because we're just everyday people. We might not have the resources to resist those deviant labels. There's also the widespread belief that norms and laws are natural and good, but that actually masks political character. So, we need norms and laws for everyone else, unless you're in the political arena or the political spectrum. And there's some examples of that down there, okay? You can go back and read those. Now, of course, with our social conflict, remember, race and the feminist theories fall under that umbrella. And a race conflict, of course, an example would be hate crimes, which is a criminal act against a person or a person's property by an offender motivated by racial or other biases. In the U.S. and elsewhere, society controls the behavior of women more than men. So that's an example of the feminist theory as it relates to social conflict. Now, there is punishment for deviant activities. Our justice system ensures that. There are 4 justifications for punishment. There's retribution, deterrence, rehabilitation, and societal position. Really quickly, retribution is an act of moral vengeance by which society makes the offender suffer. This is an eye for an eye. This is very old school law. If you end up taking criminal justice, you'll find out that this is under Sharia law. It's kind of started in Middle Eastern countries. If someone stole something, they got the hand chopped off, that whole sort of thing, okay? That is a deterrent to deviant behavior. Then you have deterrence itself, which is the attempt to discourage criminality through the use of punishment. Usually this is done by prison. We put you in prison, we let you sit there for a while, so that hopefully when you get out, you will not go back to doing the deviant behavior that you did as it relates to crime. Then there is rehabilitation, which is a program for reforming the offender to prevent later offenses. This actually encourages constructive improvement. Unfortunately, just in my opinion, rehabilitation is not used enough, or is not used accurately in order to keep criminals from doing crime. I think it probably needs to be used a little bit more, or used with more fidelity. Then there is, of course, societal position, which is rendering an offender incapable of further offenses temporarily through imprisonment, like deterrence, or permanently through execution. And the last thing that I leave you with is, what is your opinion of the death penalty? Because whether we like it or not, it is a way to deter, unfortunately, people from committing crimes. And as you get ready to go into your third AB, you will be using Chapter 9. I will be picking the subject for you, and it will have to do with an individual who was given the death penalty. So I'll let you look at that case, and you can tell me a little bit about your thoughts and what you think, or anything that we've talked about with Chapter 9. Okay? Take care. Thanks.